We are going to be recreating a of course this is late 20s to 30s pattern, has been reproduced for decades, and a dog baby bib. These were really popular, and going back to my my cover came off unfortunately, my 1928-29 Hirschner's catalog that I keep referring to because it is a wealth of knowledge. There were several character type baby bibs. These were incredibly popular and easy to make. Usually you just needed a piece of muslin or some other kind of plain fabric. Flannel works good. In fact, I almost did mine out of flannel, but I have a bolt of white flannel, pink flannel, blue flannel, and then I bought a bolt of white muslin in the after Christmas sales. And I've got these baby clothes that I've been planning on making, so I was going to try to save my flannel. So I'm just using the plain white bleached muslin. And you can see here there were, let's say if there was a brand name on these patterns, but there's a cat and a bear, and here we have a rabbit and a dog. These are stamped dolls. Up here you have some different bibs. Here's one that's sort of more like what we're doing. It's a rabbit, and we're going to do a similar one like this. I can't find the pattern that I want, so I'm just going to make also very cute other ones, and we're going to do some other really cute bibs. So the ones I bought, and I believe this was a Vogart pattern, and it's in the public domain, but you'll find a lot of sellers that will take the time to print them off. This one, because this one, if you look at it, it's bigger than your standard piece of paper in a printer. So they'll take the time to print them off, Kinko's or something, and put them together and package them nicely with the instructions. Like this one came with the one-page instructions, and then they sell them. You can do that. They're in the public domain. It's easy. I really like this seller. Her name's Oregon Raindrops on eBay, and she just makes things a lot more convenient. I buy a lot of vintage doll patterns from her that she has gone ahead and you know taken the time to package up just like a pattern and everything. It just makes it a little bit more simpler when I'm sewing. But so Oregon Raindrops is where I bought these two specific ones. You can find all kinds of variations on these pattern type character bibs. Let me see if there's any more on here. I don't see any. But they were really popular. You could even modify if you could find a small, this is like a stamped doll pillow type thing. You could modify those into bibs too. So this is just going to be a fun project, and like I stated before that I was, for some of these videos, it's just as easy for me to do 6 or 8 of them as it is for me to do one. So I decided that I would do enough for I'm doing a cat and dog one, so like a set, one for each of my kids to save for grandkids. And then I have a friend that's expecting, so I thought I'd do a set for her too. I already have the dog traced, and I was going to show you the backing I had gotten at an antique store. Vintage fabric. They had these a little bit creepy jack-in-the-boxes on it, but it's a nice pink and blue and yellow. It's just a nice cotton. So I cut the backs for all of them out of that. That way I can embroidery the little ribbons on the cat and the dog. I can do pink, blue, or yellow. The instructions came with extra pattern pieces to applique. If you wanted to applique a different fabric on the cat for its ribbon. I don't know why it didn't come with applique pattern for the dog. Maybe because it's smaller, the ribbon's smaller, but I'm just going to embroidery it all. And I did 8 of the dog and 8 of the cat, and I'm already working on the dog, the embroidery for the dog. I think I've got 3 done. And so I'm tracing out the cat, and I'll show you some of that sped up. And if you watched my other videos, you know that you can buy the transfer paper black. You can buy different colors, blue, whatever. I just have the common black transfer paper. And you just put the transfer paper with the inky side down against your fabric, and then you put your pattern or the thing that you're going to be transferring. These used to be iron-on patterns, the original ones, but now they're just like the illustrations because they're not the original. They're just reproduced because they're in the public domain now. So look online, and basically any picture that you find of something like this, even if it's an old bib, if you blow it up big enough, you can print that off, and you have an illustration now that you can cut out and use and cut out and transfer. Now, because these are so big, what I did is just cut them this size, and I'm just gonna try to move up some, like this is like way down here. I'm gonna move it up a little when I'm doing the actual embroidery, so I can sew any bigger than this. I mean, this is a pretty big bib, even for a person. On a kid, it's gonna pretty much be a full coverage, and that's good. And what we'll do here at the top, some sort of tie, you know, will come off probably the back of the ears, or you could do bias tape if you wanted to do. But I'm probably going to finish the whole bib out with blanket stitch around the edges. Like if you watch some of my pot holder videos, I always sort of finish it that way. So that's probably what I'll do. So that way, I might, if I do ties, I might also go extend the blanket stitching to the ties. I don't know. We'll see what I want to do when we get to that stage. I have almost all of the dogs embroidered, and then I'm going to start embroidering the cat bibs. But today I need to cut out the fiber fill that goes inside of each bib. Actually, it's like scrap pieces, so I think I can get enough. I'm doing 6 of each one, so I need 12 pieces. So let's watch that. I have finished the embroidery for where I'm doing 6 of each one, doing the dog and the cat. So I have done all the embroidery for the cat, so there's 6 of those each. And I've done the embroidery for the dogs, so there's 6 of those. Cut out all the liners for the cats, and I've cut out the liner, or I used a fiber fill crib batting, cut out the dog, and I have the backing fabric ready to go for the dogs as well. I'm going to cut out the pieces of that I've embroidered, because I mean I have the outline. It's hard to see because it's transfer. Remember we did the transfer. I'm going to cut out all the embroidery, and then I'm going to pin it. I'll show you how I'm going to pin it together, and then we'll sew those up real quick. I'm just going to use these heavy pinking shears as a weight. if you wonder why they're there. Now I am cutting out a little bit around the outline on the liners and the backing fabric. I did not, but I am on this just so I don't cut some of my sewing, but I do realize that some of my sewing may get sewn into the seam, so we'll just have to see how it goes. But I am trying to leave a little bit, so there's one dog. Let me go ahead and cut one cat out. You don't want to sit here and watch me do 6 of each of these here, so. And there we have a cat. So we have the dog and the cat. And I think they turned out really cute, and I can't wait to get started on them. Okay, let's lay out Bibs, and we will do the dog first. So what we want to do is we want to make sure, let me see, I'm trying to see, this fabric is really faint. It'd almost be, this is the right side. So I'm going to put the right side of my fabric up, and I want to put the right side of my embroidery against the right side of the backing fabric. So it's like you're looking at the bib inside out. I'm going to try to line it up here as good as best as possible. It's not an exact match because that's just how it happened. And then I'm going to take my liner, and I think I'm going to put that that's the back side. The liner always, when I cut it, it always ends up being just a little bit bigger than what you need, and that's okay because you can trim it off. So it's going to be against the back. And what we're going to do is we are going to leave, oh, where should we leave the hole? Probably at the bottom. I'm going to leave a hole down here at the bottom when we're sewing it, and we'll reach inside there and we'll turn it right side out that way. So I'm just going to pin through all 3 layers. I'm going to put 2 pins sort of like down here indicating leave that hole, don't sew that up. The ties, I'm going to be using double folded bias tape. Cut a 15-inch piece of the bias tape, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my pin. Let's see, I think I'm going to put it, it's going to come out of each of the top of each ear. So I'm just going to sort of, now that I've already pinned it up. For right now, I'm just reaching down in the place where we're going to leave it open just so I can pull it straight here. Come out right at the center of the ear there. So I'm just trying to align it there so I can pin it. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. You want to make sure you get it between your embroidery front piece and the backing. You don't want it, you want the line, you don't want it to be, you don't want to be able to see it in the liner. You want it between these 2 layers here. Okay, I'm going to again line it up. I'm going to sew these together, and then I'm going to top stitch around all of the bibs, and then I'm going to finish them with hand blanket stitching on the edges. So that is, obviously you don't have to do the blanket stitching, but to me that's something that I prefer to do because I just think it just adds that finishing touch that I like to do on my projects. So again, I'm going to cut 2 15-inch long ties, and when I'm sewing, I will go over these ties, and I will, once they're sewn into place, I'll do a stitch. I'll do a seam up the side to make sure we get that double-sided bias tape secured into one piece, because you know it does open up, and we don't want that fold there. Now let's go sew these together. Doing a lot of pivoting because I really want to make sure I get the definition of the shape. I could do it in one fluid motion and do it fast, but like I said, I really want to make sure I get the shape of the dog. Before I turn it, I'm going to go ahead and zigzag because this is a bib. So I'm going to want this to be as strong as possible. So I'm just going to zigzag the edges. Okay. Turn this one inside out, right side out here. Alright, I'm going to make sure I got all my I'm not going to top stitch it yet. I'm going to do my cat because I want to go iron it before we top stitch everything. But here we have so far. So it does get smaller, but it will be longer. Obviously this is a longer bib for, or you know, I guess I could cover the whole front of a kid too. So I'm going to go ahead and sew my cat, and then we'll hit these with an iron, and then we'll do the top stitching. I got them all ironed, all the cats and all the dogs, and we're going to top sew, and I folded in the spot where we didn't sew while I was ironing. So what we're just going to do is go around, and we're going to top stitch around the entire thing before I finish the edges in blanket stitch. Okay, when I come up here to the bias tape, I'm going to lower my needle into my tape. This one got sort of crooked, so that's probably one I keep. I'm just going to do a straight line up the bias tape because you see it's double fold, so it's open, so we want to make that one join together tie. Now you don't have to top stitch if you don't want to, but I think top stitching always adds an element of professionalism to things. It makes it just look more finished. Let's do a dog, so that looks real cute. Now when you iron the fiberfill, most likely it's going to melt basically inside and join the two fabrics together. When you wash it, it will soften up again. Okay, I didn't do anything to the ends on these yet. I don't know if I'm going to tie a knot or just sew it or what. But so there's my ties look more. See, when you sew them, they're not going to open up now. They're going to be more. Then there's our doggy with the top stitching. You can see it on the back. So I'm going to whip these out real quick. I'm not even supposed to be doing this. My back has been totally jacked up since we went to get the stove to be like basically in my chair.